This video will show you how to replace the rear parking brake shoes on a Ford Edge. These will be located behind your rear wheels. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've completed that, if you have a center cover, go ahead and remove that now. You're going to be looking for a small tab area that you can make your way in between, and we'll gently pry this out. After you have that removed, we'll continue on to our 5 19mm lug nuts. We got the lug nuts off, let's remove the wheel. Now that we have the wheel off, we have a clear view of our rear brakes. Let's start by pushing back our caliper piston. To push back our caliper piston, I'm just using a small pry bar. I'm going to go inside the slot on the caliper. I'm attempting to hit up against my brake rotor, and then I'm going to start drawing this away from the vehicle, which is going to push in on the piston. Now, once you do find that you have movement from this, we're going to continue on along the back side of the caliper. We're going to remove 2 15mm headed bolts holding the caliper bracket in place. Now, from along the back side of the caliper, we can see our lower caliper bracket bolt. The upper bolt is right along this area here. Let's start removing the first bolt. We'll give it a quick inspection and start it back in a couple threads. That'll hold the caliper bracket in place while we continue on to the next mounting bolt. Now, as we start pulling the caliper out and away, we need to give our brake pads a close inspection. These look good, so I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, putting no pressure on my flex hose. Now let's start removing the brake rotor. You may find that you have to de-adjust your parking brake shoe, which is located behind this area. If that is the case, you want to make your way into the port here. If there's some sort of rubber protector, go ahead and remove that. I'm just going to use an angled pick. We should be able to pull this out of here. Just go ahead and give that a quick inspection. We'll set it aside. We will be reusing it. Now, if you were to look inside this area, you're going to find an adjustment cog. We're going to use a flat blade screwdriver to adjust the shoe inward, de-adjusting the parking brake. Let's go one way or the other until it feels as though we have movement. Now, continuing on, you should be able to pull this out of place. If it still feels as though it's stuck in place, you may have to lightly tap with a hammer. If you're planning on reusing your brake rotor, do not hit on the braking surface. Just a quick inspection of that, we'll set it aside. Now that we have the brake rotor off, we can see our parking brake shoe. To remove this, we're going to lightly tap down. It's going to separate from its mounting point down here and from up along the top. One thing that I would note is there is going to be one spring on this area that we have to make sure we dislodge. Just a light tap on that. Now we can see our spring. As far as the spring, typically I would dislodge the spring from its mounting point inside this area, and then we can remove it from the shoe itself. Now we can see where our spring hooks onto the mounting point here. I do intend on reusing this spring, so I'm being careful not to damage it. I'm just going to use some long nose pliers. Grab onto that spring, gently pull it out of place. We can slide that off of the shoe. You can see where it pivots out of the port. Just a quick inspection of that spring. Let's finish removing that shoe. So now as we start pulling this out and away, you should be able to slide it over the wheel bearing hub. And there it is, friend. Now, prior to installing any brand new part, we want to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area. Of course, we will have to clean the backing plate, but let's start up along the top. This is where our emergency brake shoe adjuster is located. Now, I'm just going to use a flat blade screwdriver to gently start prying this apart. We will have to clean and re-lubricate everything here. There's one side. Now, something to be aware of is on the rearward side, you're going to find a small pin on the inboard side there that needs to be removed with this. You want to be careful not to lose it. There's our small pin. Let's go ahead and clean the entire adjuster apparatus. So at this point, we're looking at all the pieces of the adjuster, in exception of the part that's still attached to the backing plate. Let's start with the adjuster portion here. You're going to find that you have a small washer. We're going to continue on by unscrewing these two pieces from each other. Once you have everything completely disassembled, you're going to want to make sure you clean each and every part, confirming that it's in good usable order, and then we're going to lubricate. After everything's fully cleaned, let's make our way over to the vehicle. Now over at the vehicle, before we start installing our adjuster, we're going to clean the inside of this area. What you're going to find is you have a small lever that comes from the back side of the backing plate where the emergency brake cable is all the way through this area. So I'm going to use some parts cleaner and clean rag. Of course, we have a collection receptacle under this area. Now, after confirming there's no miscellaneous rust or debris in this area, let's continue on with the installation of our adjuster. We have some high temperature lubricant. We're going to lubricate inside of the area that we just finished cleaning. Now we're looking at the side of the adjuster that had the small pin in it. We're going to lubricate inside of the port and then also around the outside diameter there. A little bit of lubricant inside of here is going to help hold that pin for us. Lubricating along the outside will help prevent this from getting caught. As we bring this over, we're going to slide the pin directly into the port. We have our small spacer. Slide that on there. At this point, we can start sliding this into the port, pressing it in as far as possible. Just work that lubricant around. Now we'll start looking at the other portion of the adjuster. This is the part that we had unscrewed. On the threaded portion, we'll use some anti-seize. Just turn this in until it's completely bottomed out. That would be the completely de-adjusted phase of this. High temperature lubricant along the smooth area. A little bit down at the end, and we'll slide this into place. We'll make sure we use a wire brush to clean along the backing plate where the emergency brake shoe will sit. Now after cleaning that, we want to pay attention to the backing plate. There's going to be a couple raised areas that we're going to apply some lubricant. You can see one here. And then we'll make our way all the way down towards the bottom where we have our mounting clip. I'm just going to apply lubricant on the clip and on the backing plate along both sides. We're just going to repeat this process on the other side of the backing plate as well. Now it's time to install our brand new parking brake shoe. We want to make sure we have it in the proper orientation. The outboard side would have two small holes in it. The inboard side will not. Now, as you remember during the removal process, we did have one small spring that we're going to have to install in the same orientation. We're going to use the area with a small hooked end, and we're sliding it into the rearward port. Let's get our shoe in place. Start bringing it in here. We'll make sure we can gain access to our spring. Now, we need to pay attention along the bottom and up along the top. As far as the bottom, we're paying attention to the adapter that this will have to slide in between the adapter and the backing plate. As we start sliding this up, we need to pay attention along the top. The top of the shoe needs to fit along the adjuster on each side. After that, we'll just go ahead and install that spring, holding this in place. Now you may find as you start bringing this up towards the adjuster, you may have to carefully separate the top of the shoe. To do that, you could gently pry on one side or the other. Start bringing this up. Now, as you can tell, I still have to make my way up quite a bit here. I just want to confirm I'm not going to cause any damage to my spring. I'm tucking it on the inside. As we continue up, once again, we need to be in between that adapter at the bottom and the backing plate. A couple light taps. Grab hold of that shoe, attempt to pull it out. It should not pull out of place. Once you're sure it's properly secured, we'll continue on with our spring. Some long nose pliers. At this point, let's go ahead and clean our hub mating surface. Use some parts cleaner and a wire brush as necessary. Now that I have that cleaned, I'm going to continue on with some copper anti-seize. We're going to make our way around the center area here and along the outer edge. Just a thin coating should do. The next thing we're going to do is install our brake rotor. Before we do so, let's have a quick look along the back side. When looking along the inboard side here, we want to pay attention to where our hub mating surface would be. Remove any miscellaneous debris. I'm just going to use a clean rag and some parts cleaner. We'll confirm that there's nothing on our braking surfaces. We have the inboard side and the outboard side. Just a quick wipe there. Now that I have that on, I want to make sure the rotor's fully up against the hub mating surface behind there. So I'm just using a spacer and one of my original lug nuts. At this point, we're going to have to adjust our emergency brake shoe located behind here. We've already cleaned our adjuster. To adjust this, I'm going to be using a flat blade screwdriver. I'm going to make my way to the adjuster cog, and I'm going to adjust this until I can hear slight drag coming from the brake shoe inside of my rotor. Once you've made the proper adjustment, we're going to continue on with reinstalling the protective boot. Now we can install our brake caliper. We're going to make sure that we have the rotor in between our two brake pads here. Align your two mounting bolt ports, start them in and snug them up. Once you have them snugged, we're going to torque each of them to 66 foot-pounds. Start it in. Let's get the next one in there. Before we go any further, just double check to make sure that your flex hose has not been twisted in a way that may restrict brake fluid flow. Let's remove our lug nut and spacer. One last quick inspection and we'll reinstall our wheel. Once you have it in place, you're continuing on with all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts. We'll start them on, bottom them out, get the wheel safely on the ground, and then torque each of these to 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. We've got the wheel safely on the ground. Let's go ahead and torque these to that 100 foot-pounds. Torqued. If you have a center cover, install that now. When installing our center cover, we want to ensure that our lug nuts are aligned with their corresponding ports. Just line it up, drive it in. Double check to make sure it's secured all the way around. Okay friend, we showed you how to install one side of the vehicle's parking brake shoes. Now at this point, go over to the other side of the vehicle and repeat this exact same process. When you do them as a pair. After that, we want to make sure we pump up the brake pedal till it's nice and firm. You're going to test the functionality of your emergency brake. Aside from that, just go ahead and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.